Welcome back to the Explainer. So let's jump right in. I want you to picture a scene that is probably incredibly familiar to you. Think about the next time your cat is dozing off on the living room couch. You know the look, they're half asleep, their eyes are just drifting shut, the room is totally quiet. Now, freeze that sleepy moment in your head for just a second. If you look really closely, right at the corner of their eye in that frozen moment, you'll actually see something sliding across it. It's this weird, pale sliver of tissue. Honestly, it's something most cat owners have seen 100 times over the years, and yet almost nobody ever stops to question what it actually is. So, what is your cat hiding?
Well, here's the secret they're hiding in plain sight. It is not their eyelid. At least, it's not the top one, and it's definitely not the bottom one. It is an entirely separate third eyelid. Yes, a third one. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what this hidden piece of anatomy does, because as you'll see, it's nothing short of an evolutionary marvel.
Section 1, Anatomy of a Third Eyelid, a Mechanical Marvel.
You know, I remember when I first learned about this anatomy, it sounds almost unbelievable until you actually see it in slow motion. Clinically, veterinarians call this the nictitating membrane. That term actually comes from the Latin word nictare, which simply means to blink. Now, that looks simple enough on paper, but honestly, third eyelid is just a much better term for a casual conversation, right? And while that Latin root just means to blink, its actual function is so much more clever than that. There is a stark contrast in how these mechanisms actually operate. Think about a normal blink, the kind you and I do, and the kind a cat's regular eyelids do. It moves up and down on a vertical axis. And every single time that happens, it causes a brief split-second moment of total blindness. But the third eyelid, it sweeps sideways. It glides horizontally right from the inner corner of the eye. It acts exactly like a tiny, perfectly engineered windshield wiper. It moves on a completely different axis than every other blink you've ever seen. And the craziest part, it maintains vision the entire time. And here is a detail that absolutely messes with people. You actually have one too. No, seriously, when this explainer is over, go look in a mirror. Look at the inner corner of your own eye, right near your nose. You see that small pink fold of tissue tucked in there? That is your third eyelid. Evolution just kind of powered it down for humans. It's a deactivated evolutionary leftover sitting there completely unused, like a factory setting that nobody ever bothered to switch on. But for cats, they never lost theirs. Section 2. Nature's ultimate windshield wiper, smart animal design. Once you understand the purpose of this structure, it stops being just a random biology trivia fact, and it really starts looking like one of the smartest pieces of design in the entire animal kingdom. The crucial point here is this brilliant engineering workaround. Protection plus vision equals absolutely no trade-offs. Just picture a cat in the wild, or even just in your backyard. They're stalking through tall grass, squeezing under a wooden fence, maybe chasing a mouse through thorny brush. In that high-stakes moment, their eyes are literally the single most important tool they have. They absolutely cannot afford to lose their vision, not even for the fraction of a second that a normal vertical blink takes. But at the same time, they can't leave their eyes completely exposed to dust, flying debris, or a branch snapping back into their face. So nature built this clear, protective shield. It glides across the eye, spreading moisture and blocking debris, while the eye functionally stays perfectly open. I mean, that is a compromise human engineers would dream of pulling off. And cats are definitely not the only ones running this highly specialized feature. If we look at the evolutionary roster, sharks deploy a version of this exact membrane the instant they bite down on prey, protecting their eyes from damage during a chaotic struggle. Birds of prey, like falcons, they use theirs mid-dive at full speed so they aren't blinded by the wind for even a fraction of a second while stooping toward a target. And camels rely on theirs to navigate straight through blinding desert sandstorms. This incredibly specific trait just keeps reappearing across completely unrelated branches of the animal kingdom. Why? Because nature repeatedly uses it to solve the exact same problem, protecting the eye in extreme situations without sacrificing sight. Section 3. The Hawes Syndrome Mystery. When to call the vet. Now, most of the time, this membrane is working completely silently in the background, moisturizing the eye every time your cat normally blinks. As we established, it's totally normal to catch a glimpse of it when they're drowsy or when they've been sedated for a vet procedure and lose that fine motor control. But let's pivot to practical pet health for a minute, because if you see this membrane when your cat is wide awake, well, that's a warning sign. Vets refer to this oddly named condition as Hawes syndrome. Haw is actually the old traditional term for the third eyelid in horses, and somehow, through the quirks of veterinary history, that term got attached to this specific condition in cats, and the name just stuck.
In Hawes syndrome, the membrane rises up and just gets permanently stuck out, sometimes covering a huge, noticeable chunk of the eye for days or even weeks.
And this brilliantly illustrates one of the strangest biological mysteries I have ever come across. Get this, if your cat has Hawes syndrome, their eye itself is completely healthy. There's absolutely no injury, no infection, no scratch on the surface of the cornea, none of that. Instead, the issue is bizarrely linked to their gut. Yep, their stomach. Vets see this show up most often in cats that have recently had some kind of stomach or intestinal upset. We're talking vomiting, diarrhea, that sort of thing. So, healthy eye, upset stomach. I am in genuine awe of this fact. Think about it. We live in an era where science has successfully mapped the entire complex cat genome, the whole shebang. And yet, veterinary medicine still has not figured out the exact nerve connection between a cat's gut and their third eyelid. The leading theory is that it's a temporary disruption to the nerves controlling the membrane, but nobody fully understands why a stomach bug causes an eyelid to misbehave. It is a completely unmapped nerve pathway. Mind-blowing, right? But hey, there is good news here. Hawes syndrome usually resolves entirely on its own within a few weeks once that underlying stomach issue settles down. And vets have a remarkably simple 3-step diagnostic trick to confirm it. Step 1, they apply a single drop of a medication called phenylephrine into the eye. Step 2, they just wait about 20 minutes. And step 3, if the membrane retracts completely back to normal, the vet can confidently confirm it's Hawes syndrome and nothing more serious. Pretty neat. However, as a pet owner, you absolutely need to know when a visible third eyelid is actually an emergency. Please mentally bookmark this checklist. If the membrane is sticking around in just one eye rather than both, or if it's accompanied by your cat squinting, producing any weird eye discharge, or repeatedly pawing at their face in pain, that is a call the vet immediately situation. Those are clear-cut indicators of an active injury, maybe a trapped foreign object, or a nasty infection that needs medical intervention, not just a wait-and-see stomach bug.
Section 4. Decoding silent signals. Listening to your cat.
Let's zoom out for a moment to look at the bigger picture here. Thinking about this invisible shield really makes you reflect on just how much vital information our pets broadcast to us every single day that goes completely unnoticed. We spend so much time and energy trying to decode the loud things, right? The meows, the erratic tail flicks, the dramatic way they knock a pen off your desk while maintaining unbroken eye contact. But as the source material so perfectly states, the biggest signals aren't always the loud ones. A silent, tiny signal, like a pale sliver of tissue tucked in the corner of an eye, can be just as important as a loud meow. In its own quiet way, it tells you whether your cat is just comfortably sleepy or if something deeper underneath needs your help. That is exactly why paying close attention to these hidden biological mechanisms is so incredibly rewarding. Once you know what you're looking at, you genuinely cannot unsee it. So, I challenge you, look for this pale, sliding shield on your own cat this week when they're drifting off to sleep. And it really leaves us with a fascinating final thought. If something this complex and communicative is hiding right there on their face, what else is your cat quietly telling you every single day that you just haven't noticed yet? Keep learning, keep observing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.